Update, am I the a-hole for denying my wife sex? Original post. So I saw a story similar to this, but I want my own advice. So I'm 34 male and my wife is 32 female, and she had our baby girl who is now almost 3. Now our little girl turned 1. I asked my wife if she was ready for sex or any type of physical connection again, since we barely hug and barely cuddle or even kiss in almost a year. Yes, I do understand she was touched out. So a month later, I hired a babysitter to come 2 days a week. One night for date night, and another for my wife to just have the whole day to herself. I still do this. So I attempted to cuddle her, and she rejected it. She told me she didn't want that, so find some other way to get what I need. So that's what I did. I'm not cheating on her. One, because don't have the energy to do that. I mainly bought myself some toys, and I mainly don't need to cuddle. So now, if she wants a kiss, I give her a kiss but nothing more. If she wants a hug, then I'll give her one. And if she wants to cuddle, we don't. Because after I put our child down, I take a shower and go to sleep. We still do our date nights and all of that. She attempted to have sex with me 2 weeks ago, and I asked her nicely if she could stop, as I wanted to get undressed and take a shower. Then she tried to join me in the shower, so I just got out of it and went to the guest room to shower and locked the door. I told her that I was sorry, but I wanted to take my own shower. She said it was okay. So last week I figured she would try again, so I got her some toys. I told her that these are hers and she can use them for whatever pleasure or need she needed. She said she didn't want that and she wanted me. And I told her that was good and all, but at this moment I don't want her. I would like to watch TV. So this week she decided to ask me what's going on and why I didn't want her. I told her that I would have to want her again. I said I'm not saying I don't find you attractive because I do, but I've been almost 4 years without you. So I've learned how to manage myself. For those wondering how is it 4 years, we didn't have sex her whole pregnancy as she didn't want it, which was fine, and my daughter turns 3 in 2 weeks. She asked if I was punishing her. I told her I wasn't. I don't have the energy to punish her. I said that I would work on it, but give me a few weeks to a few months, unless she just wanted me to have sex with her while thinking of something else. She said she would not like that, and I told her for now just use the toys I got her. So I went out with some friends, and one said I wasn't wrong as she has taught me how to live without her touch, and I just need to get used to it again. And one said to just do her and just think about something else, so that way she can have what she wants. Now, I know I'm going to get comments saying, well, how about you take care of a baby, since she's a stay-at-home mom? I can, and I did. She went to the hospital because she got COVID 2 weeks after our child was born, and so I had to take care of our baby alone for almost a month. And then she got it again 3 months later, so then I took care of our baby for 2 weeks. Then, every year for her birthday, I get her a 2-week-long vacation. People would ask, well, is childcare only on her? And I think I said it before, but when I get home, I usually take care of our child at night. So, am I the a-hole though? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Couples therapy like yesterday. If you don't do therapy, then just get divorced for Pete's sake. Too tired is not the right reason to not punish. This sounds like a grudge. 4 years of rejection? This guy could just be over it. It happens. He has new coping skills now. He should probably cut bait, but get therapy for himself so he doesn't go through life like that. I'm a mom, and operating on the assumption is telling is accurate, and I have to wonder what she expected. 4 years is a very long time. That bedroom isn't just dead, it's fossilized. Pregnancy plus almost 3 years old, almost 4 years without intimacy, not even cuddling. 4 years of OP's wife refusing him. Maybe OP wanted sex. Doesn't look like OP wants sex now. Therapy was needed 3 years ago. Now is the wife the one that should work hard, as she is the one that refused OP for almost 4 years. I reckon OP's wife just wants another baby. It will all grind to a halt again once she's conceived. Not the a-hole. The reason I'm going for this and not no a-holes here is because it's been 4 years. If it's been 4 years where you can't even give your partner or spouse a hug or cuddle, then you can't expect to get what you want when you want after those 4 years. Might be a little biased because I had a conversation about this with my partner a couple of weeks ago. We have 3 kids. I understand being touched out, but I got some bad news recently and I couldn't even get a hug. She later told me that she just couldn't be bothered with a hug, so I just stopped being any type of physical with her. Being told you can't have a hug when you're crying by the person you love the most, and later being told it's because they couldn't be bothered, is soul-destroying. You can't ignore basic intimacy for years and expect things to be the same the moment you want that intimacy again. The damage is done. You have to put in the work. I'm not talking sex. Don't have sex if you don't want to have sex. That's absolutely fine. But if you're at the point you're denying your partner a cuddle or a hug for years, what are you expecting? Exactly this. I was married for 21 years, but we only had sex the first 5 years. He came back from Iraq, injured. He stopped holding my hand, stopped hugging or kissing me, stopped cuddling in bed, etc. He had stopped doing those things because he thought it would lead me to think I needed something he couldn't give me. He didn't want to make things harder for me than they already were. It devastated me. I told him I could live without sex, but not intimacy. I wasn't worried about what he couldn't do. I could take care of that need all by myself. I was worried about what he could still do that he wasn't. I needed him to show me that he still loved and cared for me. It was a game changer. We started holding hands again, hugging and kissing, etc. To say that our relationship thrived is an understatement. It brought us closer than ever. He learned that I could be trusted beyond a shadow of a doubt, to never cheat on him and leave him for something that wasn't his fault. I learned that he could be trusted to listen to my concerns and take them seriously. A man that can do that is very sexy to me. It was hell for a few years before we were finally able to come to terms with our new normal. But if it's already there, love will find a way. It's hard work, ain't gonna lie about that, but it can be overcome if both partners really listen to each other and take the necessary steps to fix the problem. My husband passed away in 2019 after a 7-year battle with cancer. He didn't lose that battle because the cancer died when he did, so technically it was a tie. He used to joke, if this thing is taking me down, then I'm taking it with me. I don't regret any of the hell we went through, because we went through it together. The fires of hell forged our bond. It became strong as steel and damn near unbreakable. Do the work, people. I promise you it's worth it. Now for the update. Hello, people. So I'm back to give you all an update. Me and my wife are divorcing. So basically, we had a conversation which ended up arguing, and so I gave her some options: an open marriage, divorce, therapy, or she just lets me wait till my attraction for her came back. She said she would just want an open marriage on her side, which I was fine with. I didn't really care. She got mad I would let other men bed her with my permission. Then she admitted she had been cheating on me, so all of you who said that were right. So I told her that we could go ahead and get a divorce. She was upset and begged and asked how I was going to allow open marriage, but then divorce her because she was cheating. I told her because we never agreed to an open marriage when you were cheating, that's why. I have filed for divorce, and we have been splitting my daughter since she has moved back into some friend's house. So that's an update for you all. Yikes. Yeah, she neglected you by giving all your affection to someone else, but then got mad when you did the same. Withdrawing affection, not the cheating part. Hope the rest of Reddit sees this. All these teenagers jump to giving years of space to the poor overworked spouse. It's all perspective. She wasn't overtouched, she just didn't want the husband. I'm wondering if there will be another update with her pregnant, agreeing with all the Redditors that said she only wanted sex now because she got knocked up by the side dude. DNA test the kid, just for a sure thing. Jesus Christ, man. Just damn. I can't believe how some people are like this. Honestly, I am terrified of marrying anyone now. Like, I am both really inclined to date and create a family, and at the same time just shut down and never want any of that again. Like, just reread the posts and you reply. How messy is this situation? He now has to figure out if his daughter is actually someone else's daughter. To a wife who, 1, cheated with no regard, 2, denied sex to him until he lost attraction, 3, got really upset and did not give him space to work on himself and his attraction to her. 4, was the one who wanted an open marriage. 5, was also the one who got really butthurt that he would let her bed other men. 6, was also the one who bedded other men, with zero regard for whether he would let her do it in the first place. 7, was also the one who victimized herself and started begging. And in the middle of all of it, there is a poor kid who wants nothing but a normal family and love from her parents. Like there has to be a hot room in hell for people like that, and these people really scare me now. On the plus side, I used to think matters are always best resolved between involved parties, with therapy and counseling, with advice as a contingency to the former not working. Now, freaking hell. Imagine where this guy would be if he didn't have you people helping him out. You are all ace. I guess I'm just ranting and terrified though. You just need to be incredibly deliberate and careful in who you tie your life to. I went through the process of dating in a methodical way to find the absolute nicest person that I could. There is no other decision in life that affects your future happiness more than who you choose as a partner. I realized that and didn't take the process lightly. I got therapy, read relationships self-help books, read psychology books, and didn't base my decision on fleeting emotional or physical attraction. In the end, I got the best husband I've ever seen or known. So yes, it is scary, but you can mitigate the risk. Last story. Is it cruel to flirt with another man in front of my husband purposefully? Tom and I have been together for 8 years, married for 2 months. He is handsome, funny, quirky, and a wonderful conversationalist. Just perfect for me, really. We go dancing, jogging, visit galleries, and cook together. He is so sensual and loving. It's astounding, and there's never a dull moment with him. I'm fond of his mom, and he has welcomed my folks as his own family too. We rarely argue most of the time, except on one topic. Tom had a close friend who, on multiple occasions, he's described as his best friend. Let's call her Julia. Originally, Tom tried to ask her out years ago before he met me, but she turned him down. They bonded over work. They had back and forth that seemed impenetrable, as whenever I tried to join in, Julia would give me these droll blank stares. She was somewhat flirtatious with Tom, stroking his biceps when he flexed it, suggesting they should work out together. She also made somewhat insensitive comments that have really upset me. Whenever I tried to bring this up, Tom hand-waved it as banter, that I was overthinking, insisting that it was in good faith, but I was never so sure. I tried to chat to Julia one day when Tom left the room, and she just muttered, "I hate small talk," and started scrolling on her phone. Another time I was talking to her, she just muttered, throughout the entire conversation in a very bored tone, and demonstratively yawned. The final straw was when she escalated her behavior from immature jabs to a prank that was primarily done to humiliate me. It didn't physically hurt, but it was emotionally devastating in a way that caused so much hassle that me and Tom had to go to marriage counseling for it. He also more or less stopped talking to Julia because of it. At first, he was really defensive and kept claiming Julia's behavior is primarily just edginess that I'm misconstruing as having more sinister intentions. But the marriage counselor has pointed out that his repeated invalidation has weighed on our marriage, and its impact will take a while to be lifted, and that the primary way to heave that weight will be to trust my impressions if I believe that something is up. After a particularly heated counseling session, he was agreeing with a lot of the talking points our counselor was making, but he was still insistent that Julia had no feelings for him. I said that given her past behavior, it's very likely she holds some sort of torch for him regardless of whether she admits to it or not. He told me that I was reading too much into it, and I was absolutely livid. It was as though he learned nothing from our sessions. To put it across to him more aggressively, I waved over a stranger in fitness gear, complimenting his muscles. I asked him where he worked out, and when he answered, I told him we could meet up and work out together one day, with a wink. When he left, Tom was enraged and demanding that I explain myself. But I told him that the explanation was right there in my behavior. He was furious, understandably so, but it was the only way he could understand the severity of my pain, to experience it himself. He then shouted that what I did was specifically done to flirt, whereas Julia was likely not intending that at all. I called BS, stating that it's the exact same thing, regardless of intention. If I'm perfectly honest, it frustrates me that even to this point, he's still defending her months down the line. Am I being the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband is being intentionally and willfully blind to Julia's behavior and effectively encouraged it. You gave him a taste of how that feels and looks, after trying so many other methods. Not the a-hole, and your husband has a thing for Julia. He always has had a thing for Julia, but she turned him down. He feels torn now because he is with you, but if he acknowledged Julia might want him, then he might be tempted to go to her. Your marriage is pretty much over. Saddest part is Julia will get what she wants and then dump him. OP's husband will destroy an established relationship for ego's sake. Sad. Not the a-hole. What is wrong with these girl best friends antagonizing the girlfriend and the guy remains oblivious and defending behaviors like this? Are men really this dense? And even if they're indeed so emotionally immature they cannot recognize it, how is it okay to dismiss and not recognize their supposed person telling them about their hurting and just doing nothing about it until crap hits the fan? Why? I'm curious what the prank was that broke the camel's back for you. Only because I cannot fathom after all this disrespect she showed you. What else could she do that was even more awful? Good luck, friend. She damaged a dress of mine apparently an accident and was too ashamed or embarrassed to apologize. When she was given a chance, she sent a disgusting present that made it finally sink in for Tom that she was treating me like sneaker residue. Afterwards, Tom has been firmly no contact with her. Not the a-hole, but you will be the a-hole if you stay and keep letting this man turn you into someone who resorts to games and flirting with other men to get your point across. You should not have to beg your husband for understanding, nor should you have to sink to his level to help him understand your pain. He knows it hurts you, and he doesn't care. You should have left your husband years ago. He is having an emotional affair. The fact that Julia plays into it is appalling, but you can only control your relationship with him. The longer you stay, the more it affirms to him that you will tolerate him letting his relationship with another woman destroy your marriage. Julia is no longer in the picture, luckily. She's went with a whimper rather than a bang, but the damage still lingers. You're absolutely right there. It's something we've discussed in counseling numerous times. It's not something that I plan to do on a bi-weekly basis. Turning on the coquette is charm at all, but I felt like Tom needed a context of how that behavior from a woman would when it's not going his way, if you know what I mean. In a way, I think you're not giving him enough credit for his awareness of your feelings. You raised the issue several times and explained that it upset you. He hand-waved your concerns and refused to actually hear what you were saying. You didn't need to show him anything that he already knows. He had all the information and decided that banter was more important to him than his wife feeling insecure in your marriage. Julia would have never been able to humiliate you if your husband had taken action and set boundaries with her long ago. He enjoys the attention. The only reason he is upset now is not because he has seen how hurt you are. It's because he had a taste of the humiliation and disrespect that you've been dealing with for months. He is selfish and does not respect your feelings. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and biological father I will always pick my dad over my bio father because my dad's my real dad? When I, 17 male, was 7 and my siblings were 9 and 10, we found out our mom was cheating on our dad. She wanted to leave dad and told him none of us were his kids. She told us too. She said the guy she was leaving to be with was our real dad and that we should all be a family. Dad said we were his kids and that we'd do DNA tests, but it wouldn't change how he felt about us. My siblings got lucky. Dad was their biological father. But the other guy turned out to be mine, which really messed me up because I hated knowing I was connected to this random dude. Mom got what she wanted by having at least one of us be this guy's kid. I know she'd have preferred all of us, but even just me seemed to make her so happy. Dad was on my birth certificate and fought to have 50-50 custody of me, just like he had with my siblings. I think my siblings being biologically his worked in our favor with the judge deciding on this unusual custody battle, and Dad sharing custody of all 3 of us. My mom and Vince fought the decision, and they got a guardian ad litem involved, as well as someone from CPS or another agency. The decision stayed the same. It was agreed that this was the best outcome for me by the new people involved. Mom and Vince did everything they could to try and win me over to Vince. And they tried with my siblings too, but mostly with me, since Vince didn't really care about my siblings because they weren't his biological kids. None of us wanted to be with them, but we had no choice. We didn't make it pleasant for them, and I never tried to accept Vince as my dad. That was something Mom told me I should do, but I always replied that I already have a dad, and Vince would never be him. I never chose Vince over my dad, even though Vince has tried very hard to create our thing with me. I was always clear that I wasn't giving him a chance. It's a fight that has never ended. I tried to use this argument a year ago to get a judge to allow me to stay with Dad, but he ruled that I have to keep going until I'm 18, or Dad could face fines or lose custody. I might stop going a month before I turn 18 since they wouldn't be able to take it before a judge in time, but I also might keep going for Dad's sake. I don't want him punished any more than he already has been. His wife cheated on him, and he found out one of his kids isn't biologically his. Mom and Vince brought it up again last week. Vince had wanted me to go on a fishing weekend with him, and I didn't go. He got upset, and Mom was upset on his behalf. They said I'd go for Dad, and I said, yeah. Then they said I always pick Dad over Vince. I said, yes. They complained, and I told them I always will because Dad is my real dad, not Vince. I said Vince will never be my dad. I told them they can't change how I feel. I said they blew up my life when they made me biologically not my dad's, and I would never forgive them. I also said I'm not a toy Vince can take out whenever he feels like it. They tried to lecture me about it, but I walked away. I kept walking away when they started saying how crappy I'm being. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're handling this appropriately and very maturely. In no ways are you the a-hole. It's very commendable how he's handling the situation. OP's mom and Vince are trying to guilt trip him into a relationship he doesn't want. His loyalty to his dad is completely justified given how much he's done for him. Not the a-hole. Sometimes DNA means nothing. In some cases, Dad is the one who raised you, not the sperm donor. Of course that's not true all the time, but in your case it is. My wife's son chose me at 7 years old. He took my name and all I stand for. He tells everyone he's Scots-Irish. He's 100% Mexican. He's 50 now and sticking to his guns. Not the a-hole. Tell your mom she should be proud you have chosen to align with and emulate your dad versus her chosen partner. Most parents would be thankful their children are taking the ethical high ground instead of the path of least resistance. It sounds like your mom was cheating on your dad for over 10 years and then used it as a weapon to hurt your dad and try to punish him for her mistakes by removing access to his kids. She sounds spiteful, selfish, and like an emotionally unhealthy person. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to go to my stepdad's funeral? I, 20 female, recently found out my stepdad, James, passed away. And honestly, I don't want to go to the funeral. My mom and some of my family are all over me about it, saying I'm being selfish and disrespecting the dead, but I just can't bring myself to go. James married my mom when I was 7, and from day one, he made it clear he didn't want me around. He would call me a burden and say I ruined his life by trapping my mom. I swear the man only saw me as a maid or free childcare. While my mom worked long shifts to keep the house running, James would sit around barking orders at me. I wasn't allowed to be a normal kid. No friends over, no hobbies, no school activities, because there was always something I had to clean or fix. And God forbid I didn't do it perfectly. He'd yell, call me lazy, and sometimes even throw things to prove a point. It got worse as I got older. By the time I was 15, I was cooking every meal, scrubbing the house top to bottom, and basically raising my little brother. My mom would just say things like, it's his way of showing love, or his trust. The day I turned 18, I left and didn't look back. I got my own place, worked my butt off, and started building a life for myself. I've barely spoken to James in 2 years, and honestly, I didn't plan to. But now that he's gone, everyone expects me to show up like nothing happened. My brother said I should suck it up because he's not worth causing drama in the family. But I can't. The thought of sitting there, listening to people talk about what a good man he was, while knowing everything he put me through, makes me sick. I don't even know if I'd be able to keep my mouth shut. Still, now I'm starting to feel bad. Maybe I should go just for my mom? But at the same time, I feel like it's unfair that I have to pretend this guy didn't ruin my childhood. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You have the freedom to choose what you believe is best for you. You're right, and that's what I'm going to choose no matter what anyone else says. Cut off the dead weight. Your mom hasn't supported you since you were 7 years old. You moved out and are doing good for yourself. Don't jeopardize all your hard work and mental health for people who haven't gave a damn about you since you were little. Not the a-hole. Funerals are for the living. The dead don't care. They're dead. If there is no benefit in attending it, don't attend it. There will be no benefit in attending only bad memories of my childhood. Not the a-hole. You owe your mother nothing. She's just as complicit for how you were treated. She knew that you had to do everything around the house, and she made excuses for her rotten husband. Time to make your excuses and not to go to the funeral. She never took my side and never protected me like a mother should do. Might be time to go low or no contact for a while. Best thing I ever did for myself. Maybe you're right about going no contact with the rest of them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for inviting my grandparents to see me get an award, but not my parents and step-parents? My parents divorced when I, 16 male, was 4. I don't know why or what their marriage was like. What I do know is that their divorce has been very competitive since they remarried other people. My dad has been married to Wendy since I was 6, and my mom has been married to Sam since I was 7. I have half siblings in both houses, 3 at my mom's and 2 at my dad's. There's also Sam's recently discovered son who's 18. Sam had no idea he existed until a couple of months ago. I love my parents. I don't always like them, but I do love them. I don't hate my step-parents. I don't feel the same way about them as I do about my parents, but I have friends with worse step-parents. Neither set, as in mom/stepdad or dad/stepmom, feels like my collective parents, and the 4 together definitely don't. My mom and dad are my parents, but sometimes I feel less like their kid and more like a pawn or something. I'm always asked what it's like at the other parent's house, even now. Questions like, do I have fun there? Do they do X? Does this happen? Then I'll get asked if I like being there. Usually, I'm also asked, would you rather live with the asking parents or the other parent? I'm also asked things like, isn't Wendy better than mom at this? Is it Sam doing more fat than dad? My step-parents are always watching how I interact with the other step-parent, and both have accused me of being more affectionate with the other. I'm also watched to see if I'm closer to my mom's other kids or my dad's other kids. When they are all in the same room, they sometimes argue over who my actual parents are. My mom's side of the family is a lot like my parents and step-parents. They talk about how I should be a mama's boy and how they're surprised I didn't choose to live with mom and Sam more. My dad is an only child, but his parents, they're the best support I could ask for. They let me vent about all 4 parents, and they've spoken up for me to both mom and dad before. They always tell me I don't need to pick sides and that it's okay if I don't feel great with either. They've said it shouldn't be that way, but it's on the adults who didn't provide me with healthy environments, not on me. Whenever there is a debate over who takes me to art or game development classes or anything related to those, I call my grandparents for help. So when I found out I was winning an award for my game development class, my grandparents were my first choice to invite, and they ended up being my only choice. My parents had no idea it was anything other than a typical class. My grandparents took me out to celebrate afterward. It took 2 weeks for Mom and Wendy to notice the photos of the awards on Facebook and realize what had happened. Now Dad and Wendy and Mom and Sam are angry that I invited my grandparents instead of them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents sound like caring, supportive, and wise people. Your parents sound like typical divorced, remarried adults who often behave more like children. I think you made a right decision about who to invite to the award ceremony. They're the ones who always step up when you need to be driven to this extracurricular activity. Inviting them to attend was a respectful and thoughtful way to honor them. Now, if it were your high school graduation, I might not be quite so quick to agree. But in this case, I think what you did was entirely acceptable. In the future, you might consider doing your parents the courtesy of letting them know beforehand what is going on and that you plan to invite just your grandparents. At 16, you're approaching adulthood, and it's expected that you exhibit some independence in certain areas. Handling things like this is a good start. Stay close to your grandparents. They sound like good people. They've been around for a while and often have good advice to share and interesting stories to tell. I didn't want them to show up and ruin it anyway. That might not be the best reason not to say anything beforehand, but I know they would just see it as a reason to show up, and then they'd fight over me again. They could have gone without me inviting them since tickets weren't required or anything. I'm seriously considering skipping my graduation ceremony in a couple of years. I could collect my diploma early like some kids do, and just skip the whole event since it would probably be more stressful than enjoyable for me. My parents and step-parents aren't great at being supportive in the moment because they're too busy fighting and competing for me. It makes me wish I didn't live with any of them. My grandparents are amazing. They tell cool stories and seem to have reached a level of maturity that I'm not sure either of my parents or step-parents will ever reach. Jesus, your life sucks. Good news is you have awesome grandparents. Just 2 more years of being a minor and you are free to carve out the life you want and know the persons you don't want to be. My life could be worse, and I totally understand that. But it sucks being caught in the middle where you have to ask whether any of the 4 actually care about me or whether they just dislike each other so much that I am an easy pawn. Last story. Am I the a-hole for declining to bring my half-brother, shared mother, to family functions on my father's side? This is an old issue between me, 40 male, and my family, but it's been brought up again due to some current family drama. Long story short, my parents had a messy divorce when I was 14. My mother really resents my dad's side of the family. She thinks they always looked down on her. On the other hand, my dad's side doesn't like her because of past issues and because she cheated on my dad before the divorce. I don't want to give too much backstory to avoid clouding the issue, but suffice it is to say the divorce was really hard on me and my younger brother. Our parents didn't want to talk to each other, so we were used as messengers and put in the middle of a crappy situation. Fast forward a couple of years, my mother remarried and had a son. My brother and I were 17 and 14 at a time, so it's not shocking that we weren't thrilled about adding a baby to the family, especially when money was already tight, and both my mom and stepdad worked. Basically, we were, voluntold, into babysitting duties a lot, and we were also expected to pull more weight around the house than I felt was fair. On top of that, there was now a screaming baby in the house. We did actively resent our new half-brother and did our best to treat him like family. As much as a 17 and 14-year-old can between school, after-school jobs, friends, girlfriends, etc. But it was a hard couple of years. My younger brother and he got kinda close, but honestly, I had one foot out the door to university and left home before he was due. I went to school far enough away that I didn't get to visit very often and never really got close to him. The issue came after I moved away from university. I'd come home to visit for the regular holidays and summers for the first couple of years. Then basically just sporadic visits once workload started to get serious. Every time I came home, I'd have maybe 3 to 4 days to visit both sides of the family. My mom's and dad's side, who both lived within a 30-minute driving radius in a small town. On top of that, I had to make time to visit my stepdad's family and try to find 5 minutes to catch up with friends. My mother would insist that my brother and I bring our half-brother everywhere with us. You don't visit that long. You need to spend as much time with him as you can. He's your brother. This included family gatherings on my dad's side. This is the sore spot. There was already a lot of tension between the sides of the family, and it was really uncomfortable bringing my half-brother to family gatherings, where it was clear he was not part of that family. They were never rude or mean to him, but he didn't have the history, didn't know the traditions, inside jokes, etc. It felt like I brought a huge neon sign that said, "Hey, check out what that woman who cheated on your son made." Besides that, I barely had enough time to visit my family on my dad's side. It felt like I was constantly missing out on catching up with them because I had to spend the whole time looking after my half-brother, who didn't know anyone there and was, frankly, a bit confused about why he was even there. After a few times, I put my foot down and told my mom I would no longer be taking my half-brother to functions on my dad's side. I explained that they weren't his family, and she had made it very clear she hated pretty much everyone on my dad's side. Honestly, I think her sending my half-brother with me was less about spending time with him and more about trying to insert herself into their lives passive-aggressively, twisting the knife in deeper. This caused a huge blowout and was probably the beginning of the long downward spiral in my relationship with my mom. Old wounds have been reopened recently, and this issue is being brought up again as the reason all this started. So what's the verdict? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He isn't your dad's family. There's no reason for him to go to things that involved your dad's side of the family. He isn't related to them by blood or by marriage. And if your mom hates your dad and his family so much anyway, she really shouldn't want to expose the boy, now young man, to them. Not the a-hole. You're an adult, so it's a fair decision given that mother dislikes father's folks and vice versa. Go low contact with mother if she carries on pressuring you. Harsh facts being nobody in dads respects her because the woman is a cheater. Marriages do not always last, but it would have been better to divorce before bedding another man. We've been low contact for years. There's just stuff happening in the family. Aging grandparents, my half-brother's wedding, and other stuff that's forced contact and opened old wounds. So now 20 years of family drama is being rehashed. Update. Am I the a-hole for banning my husband's best friend from our house? Original story. My husband and I have been together for 10 years, including 6 years married, and have a beautiful 1-year-old. He has a best friend from his college years. They're very close. And since they both are only child, formed brotherly bond. His friend and I never get along well. At first, he was jealous that my husband was in a relationship and seemed disgustingly in love with me, in his own words. As years passed, he became more civil towards me. But I'm too socially shy and introvert, so we never become friends or anything. I admit I don't like to hang out with him and avoid him. But he come often to my house, and every time I cook or bake something special, and it's the only way we can get along. I did this because I know how close my husband and him are. Recently, my husband got a new cell phone and handed it to me because he always forgets his passwords. So I was downloading his chat's backups when I saw a recent message from his friend telling him that ex-girl was really disappointed he didn't show up again. I was intrigued, so I opened the chat and oh man, the whole chat was filled with messages from his friend encouraging him to meet with this girl. My husband brushed him off all the time, but he kept insisting. At some point, his friend told him this girl was way younger than me, and her body was hotter, and that my husband had to admit that my body have changed a lot after my pregnancy. Even mentioned that this girl's genital will be tighter. Disgusting. I've never felt so dragged. His friend messages him multiple times, saying he was drinking with his girlfriend and this girl who was willing, and called him a coward when he refused. I confronted my husband, and he said that in fact his friend have been being more of a jerk than usual, but he never actually considered cheating on me with this girl or anybody else for the matter. I trust him, but I don't trust his friend. I don't want to be that type of wife and tell him who he can't be friends with, but I made it very clear I didn't want his friend to put a foot in my house again, or be near my daughter that recently started calling him uncle. My husband agrees, but thinks banning him from the house is too much. Said he would have a serious talk with him about his disgusting behavior, but the banning was too much and this is his house too, so should have a say. That led us to a fight because I'm adamant they could stay friends but not in my house. My husband thinks I'm the a-hole for trying to rule who can and who can't come to our house. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your husband should have spoken to him when he started the conversation around him leaving you for someone younger. Allowing it to continue has just sent the message that he is not rejecting it completely. Also insisting on remaining friends with someone who clearly wants to ruin his relationship. The friend is disgusting and should not be allowed in your home. This isn't a friend. A friend won't actively and so blatantly try to ruin a friend's marriage. This guy wants to throw a hand grenade at Opie's relationship and watch it burn. The sad thing is that Opie's husband still doesn't see that this isn't a friend. What a sad situation. Not a-hole. But Opie, if you're reading this, please ask your husband to take a closer look at whom he brings around himself and his family in the guise of calling themselves a friend. Opie, your husband shouldn't be comfortable having a person in his house who is actively trying to destroy his marital home. He must be banned from your home for talking disgustingly about you and trying to separate you and your husband. You feed him and respect him as special guest, and he turned out to be evil and wanted to destroy your household. No, he is not allowed again. He could find another place for his dirty plans. Not a-hole. In fact, I think you're still underreacting here. Why does your husband even want to be friends with this person? He is disrespecting your marriage and you as his friend's wife, actively trying to sabotage your marriage while smiling in your face. This is really disgusting behavior, and being banned from your house and child should be the first step. I said the same thing. Why is the husband even still friends with this guy? He should have been cut off the first time he tried to get him to cheat on his freaking wife and mother of his child. Absolutely disgusting. I feel like Opie is underreacting to the situation. This guy should be out of husband's life for good. And now for the update. Thank you for all your responses. Some people asked me for an update. Yesterday, after breakfast, I sat with my husband to have a talk. I told him he was right. Banning his friend was wrong. They will meet anywhere else where he can actively drag me down and encourage him to cheat. Plus, I don't want my daughter to be near a grown man that was constantly thinking about how tight a young girl's V may be. I didn't mention it in my post, but this girl is in her early 20s while we're all in our mid-30s. My husband was mad at me for insinuating that his friend was a perv, and was even more mad because now I was saying he should cut his friendship out. I told him I feel disappointed that he let someone talk of me and my body that way. I was disappointed that someone tried to sabotage our marriage, and I let him get away with it. If the family we had built was less important than his brotherhood, he should go ahead and tell me already so I won't be losing my time. He said he was right, but I couldn't possibly understand him because I came from a large family. I pointed out that he has a family now. This family must come first than any friendship, brotherhood, or whatever. He agreed. Well, later that day, his friend came over to pick up something. They ended up hanging in our front yard for 2 hours, and my husband even took our daughter to say hi to uncle and play. I was seeing red. I waited until the friend left, packed mine and my girl's stuff, and left to my parents. I messaged him. He had 2 options, to man up and stick to his family or see us in court. I wasn't about to take any disrespect from nobody. Not him, not his friend. I also sent him the link of my previous post so he could see some extra perspective. He messaged me telling me how sorry he was. He was willing to do anything to not lose us. He said he was sorry for being so weak and not protecting me, our intimacy, and our marriage. He sent me some screenshots where he tells his friend to stop trying to introduce him to women and getting him to cheat. He asked for a dinner to discuss some boundaries they need to set in their friendship and the respect he should have for his marriage. My husband asked me to come along to this dinner so I can see myself that it's true he's setting boundaries and he will put distance between them too. I also agreed to do some kind of counseling to deal with his own trauma of losing people. I said that I support him heartily, but I'm staying with my parents until dinner with his friend is over and I see some kind of improvement. That is it. Again, thanks. He wants you to come to dinner with a problem to discuss boundaries? No, he knows what the boundaries are. He can discuss them with his friend, and then he can let you know what the friend and he decide. Having dinner together to discuss boundaries is some weird triad third wheel crap. His friend isn't part of your marriage. These 2 things bother me. First, why is the dinner needed? Your husband just needed to call him and be blunt. Second, you had to leave in order for your husband to step up. A decent man would have automatically stepped up the first time his friend disrespected his wife in marriage. I'm glad your husband is agreeing to therapy because he needs it. Let him see this post also, and good luck. The fact that he still wants his a-hole friend in his life and thinks that setting some boundaries where you go back to not hearing what the friend is saying to him makes me think it's smart to stay at your parents' house. I wish I could reply to everybody. I made it clear to my husband that either he cuts his friend out or I'm leaving forever. If this dinner doesn't end on my husband cutting his friendship, I'm not going back home. I'm not taking some fake apologies. I'm standing on my ground. I wouldn't go to that dinner. Dollars to donuts, their friend is already going to frame you as overbearing and trying to ruin their friendship. And even though your husband is the one to invite you, my guess is that the friend will try to get in his head that you forced him to do it. It makes it easier for the friend to do this if you're at the dinner. Also, if you're going to rebuild your relationship with your husband, you have to rebuild your trust. Trusting him to do the right thing without you being there is the important part. He needs to do this on his own. I agree with this. The friend will absolutely see it as OP forcing the husband to do it. I also agree. Dinner? He needs to dump his disgusting, misogynistic friend who objectifies women and glorifies cheating. If the situations were reversed, the husband would not be okay with a friend who encouraged Opie to cheat on her husband with a well-endowed man. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for revealing our net worth when my wife constantly says we are broke and making me look bad with money? I, 31 male, have been with my wife, 30 female, for 10 years now, and she always has had this habit of making me look bad with our finances. Whenever anything regarding spending money comes up, she will always say how broke we are, and she doesn't have the money to do this or buy that. The thing is, we are doing well financially. We have decent jobs, and combined our salary is roughly $125,000 a year. As of today, our net worth is more than $1 million, but less than $2 million. I had saved/invested a lot before getting married, so I gave us a good head start. I control the finances/take the lead, but we both agreed to living a very modest life. We both have our cars from college, for example, Honda and Toyota. She knows everything about our finances, because at least once a month, I go over it with her every time I deposit money in our investment accounts or our kids' college funds. For banking, we have an emergency fund, and I budget everything else to go straight into investments. We basically stay right at $10,000 in our bank savings account and $500 in our checking account after bills. Most of the time there's more than $500 in our checkings, but once I pay our credit card each month, I then move anything extra. We always use the credit card, so it's not like we only have $500 to spend. Our credit card limit is $25,000. A few months ago, we had dinner with our friends and they talked about buying a new car. My wife said something like, "I wish I could get a new car, but I'm always broke after paying the bills. We still have our college cars." Note, wife does not want a new car. She will go on talk about that if she had money, what she would want to buy, and it always makes me feel ashamed. This "I'm broke" story has been happening for years. When we were driving home, I asked her about. She understood we have the money, but it's how she feels because her bank account is always low. I said I can increase our budget or keep more money in our bank if she wants. Since we are doing well, I'm okay with spending more. She said no, and again was happy with our finances. I explained that when she says we are broke, it makes me look bad and I feel ashamed. It's as though I can't provide for the family or I'm bad with money. She doesn't see it that way. The same conversation has come up numerous times about us being broke. Recently, I reminded her numerous times it makes me feel and look bad in front of friends and family. I told her if she keeps saying stuff like that, I will reveal that we are doing well with money. I gave her a few reminders I'd eventually do this, but she kept going with the "I'm broke" story. At a dinner with her sister and parents, the same "I'm broke" story came up. I piped in and said, "It's weird to hear millionaires say they are broke." My wife said, "Haha, I'm not though." And I quickly say, "We are millionaires and you know that. We go over our finances every month." Well, the "I'm broke" story stopped after that, and the night went on as usual. A little later, the same thing happens with her friends, and I use the same line. Now my wife is mad at me for using that line and revealing roughly how much money we have. She said it seems like I'm gloating. I say it's better than making me look like I'm running us into the ground financially. So am I the a-hole for revealing our net worth when my wife says we are broke? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She was dismissive of your feelings and was constantly lying to the people around her. It's a classic case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This, if she doesn't want it continually mentioned, she needs to stop crying poverty. It's pretty simple. Yes, I grew up fairly poor since my mom was a single mom raising 3 kids. Seriously, we were poor. We were homeless for a few times, and I thought it was a summer where we only ate ramen, chicken salad, and water. But apparently it was a few years, and we lived with my grandparents for a while. But they were super toxic, especially to my mom, so we got out of there. She now has a boyfriend, pretty nice guy, and his daughters are extremely horrible. They always complain about being broke when one has the ability to live nicely but go way above her means, and the other constantly has thousands in her bank account, but is too stingy to spend it. Seriously, she will worm her way into getting you to pay, and if you don't, she won't go. It's one of my pet peeves when people complain avidly about being broke when they aren't, because I've been there and it isn't fun. Not day haul. It's very weird that your wife feels the need to constantly downplay and pretend that she's poor. What about all the people who are actually struggling? Very weird, and a horrible thing for your wife to do. It's good that you called her out on it. Indeed, you asked her to stop, but apparently she didn't care. And then she's angry that you tell everyone that you're not broke. Info. Why does she downplay your combined wealth? Is she worried her family will ask for financial assistance? Is there crack about her college car because she's sick of using an old car but doesn't think you'll agree to buying a new one? And why do you feel like it's specifically calling you out? Is she saying you're not earning enough or that you're spending all the money? I feel like there's something going on you haven't told us. It's possible that she's just frustrated with the results of their budgeting. I'm in a similar scenario. I've got a job with a decent salary. Not anywhere near OP's, but I don't have to worry about starving anytime soon. Right now, I'm taking the opportunity to save as much as possible for the future. And it sucks to have limited spending money, even when I, hopefully, will be much better off when I retire, thanks to aggressive savings early on. But because it's my choice, I don't complain about not having spending money because I'm choosing to save it. And that, I think, is where OP's wife is missing a step. It's like being grumpy because you're on a diet. It might be reasonable to be grumpy because you're hungry, but it's a-hole behavior to take it out on people around you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for making my wife pay for her own speeding ticket? My wife is a stay-at-home mom to our 2 kids, 4 and 7. She is great to me and does an amazing job with them. Not so much with driving. She constantly speeds. With me, with our children, and obviously when she's driving alone. She's been very lucky not to get into any accidents and has only gotten a couple of warnings over the years. Well, that luck finally ran out, and she got a speeding ticket yesterday. She tried to BS me that it was so stupid, I was only going like 5 over. I saw the ticket, and she was doing 82 in a 65. Unacceptable. I mean, people mess up, but I've talked to her numerous times about her driving, and she's changed nothing. I did raise my voice, but I made it clear that there's been enough of this nonsense. It isn't hard not to speed. We are 100% joint on finances. All of my paychecks go into a shared account, and we pay bills out of that. We each get $300 a month in personal spending money. So I told her that she would have to pay the ticket out of her own fun money. She got angry and said that it should be treated as a normal expense out of our account. To be clear, I'm not a penny pincher or scorekeeper. We both screw up and bail each other out all the time. But those are genuine accidents. Speeding is intentional and safe and 100% preventable. I said that we could pay for her to take defensive driving to get the ticket dismissed. She doesn't want to do that. She just wants the ticket to go away, and I'm being unfair for making a big deal out of this. I said that if we really wanted to be fair, she would have to pay for defensive driving or pay the ticket herself, plus the increase in our insurance for as long as the ticket is on her record. What I've offered is more than fair. She's giving me the silent treatment now. Am I the a-hole? Well, she must have had fun driving that fast, right? Then she can use her fun money. Speeding is a choice, and she might hurt someone one day. If her fun money wallet has to hurt for a little while in order to teach her a lesson, then so be it. Not the a-hole. Yeah, both of the options you're giving her are reasonable. The only possible reason she should get out of paying money is if she somehow convinces the judge to give her community service instead. And even then, only if you drive her so she doesn't get more tickets on the way. Not the a-hole. You pay bills out of your joint account, not tickets. She needs to learn that actions have consequences. She got angry and said that it should be treated as a normal expense out of our account. Not the a-hole. Yeah, this is some grade A BS right here, OP. You play, you pay. We all know that. Why would it be joint when it wasn't a joint decision to speed?